Hey everybody, Alex Kazora, SteelersDepot.com, bringing you more Pittsburgh Steelers tape breakdown and analysis. Today I want to go through Joey Porter Jr.'s rookie season, a promising second year for him. I've gone through all 58 of the targets that I personally charted him for in my weekly Pittsburgh Steelers charting, the ones that I do, and have done so for a decade, line by line, Excel sheet by Excel, sheet and cell, over the last 10 years to look at reviewing his rookie year in coverage, the good, the bad, where to improve, where does he excel. Let's talk about it. Before we start, if you guys could like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the site, SteelersDepot.com. Would really appreciate that. Also, link below will be an article that I wrote about a week or so ago looking at Porter on third and fourth downs, the money downs, and how successful he was of cornerbacks targeted 20 or more times last year. He had the lowest quarterback rating against in the NFL. And so really impressive numbers that have me super encouraged for him in 2024. And I would just say off the top, broadly speaking, I'm very excited for what he can do in his sophomore year. But for today's video, we're going to go through a bunch of different topics, a longer video as you guys can see. It's been a while since my last video, so I figured let's do a deep dive. We'll have different variations before this team reports the training camp in late July. But things we'll look at today include him against the vertical routes and fades and go balls downfield, his success there, his success in zone coverage, his success in improvement as a tackler, and then negatively issues with slants and in-breaking routes, working on being better at plastering and finishing some of those extended plays, a little bit of difficulty in zone coverage where in particular he struggled, and then finally just some random clips that may not fall into any bucket, but I still wanted to show overall. So let's start here with the good. Week 2 against the Cleveland Browns, end of game, fourth down, big situation here. Early in Porter's career at this point, he was only playing almost exclusively in dime packages, obvious pass situations. He's the left cornerback to the bottom against wide receiver Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's going to run this go route. Nice patience here from Porter. Gets hands on, gets his head around, finds the ball, plays this clean, pass incomplete, and Pittsburgh wins. So a really good rep overall. Size on size. Peoples-Jones, a big receiver, able to make some of those 1v1 plays downfield. I just think overall, we're going to see the theme of these clips is Porter really reducing the width the receiver has by pinning that guy to the sideline, really eliminating the space that he has vertically to make that window really small, and for Porter to gain leverage and really be in control of the route. There just really isn't much space here for Peoples-Jones to make a play, and then Porter getting his eyes around that plays clean, won't get you too many flags that way. Penalties an issue throughout his season, but a nice clean rep here for Pittsburgh to get the win in a big-time spot. Another clutch moment here against the Ravens in Week 5. Third down, turning point of this game goes back to my study that showed how successful Porter was in those big money down situations. Third, fourth down, his one interception on the season. This fade to Odell Beckham Jr., high hands here off the snap to be able to press and make contact. You go to training camp last year, all at camp last year, DB's coach Grady Brown to the entire cornerback room, but he would always preach these guys getting their hands high before the snap as opposed to them dangling down as Porter had here initially, but you see him raise his hands here, ready to punch and make good contact off the line to really disrupt the release that Beckham Jr. has. And then again, eyes on the football, keying it the whole way, good leverage, pinning Beckham Jr. wide with the inside leverage that Porter has, timing his jump, making the catch, and picking off this pass, finishing the play. The crucial part, obviously, in a huge spot there, and is the reason why Pittsburgh came back to win this game with Kenny Pickett's long touchdown to George Pickens, but a really good rep again in that big-time moment. Week 8 against Jacksonville, and on anything vertical and outside, Porter to me was an eraser. I mean, nobody won on these kinds of routes, and I'm not even sure why teams continue to throw his way on these concepts. Any of these fades and goes and just vertical releases to the outside by, the X or Z receiver, Porter just completely took away. I'll have to do later this year a study on those particular routes and throws, but I'm not sure if he allowed more than 1 or 2 catches on these concepts the entire season. Again, being able to use his size to ride the receiver, be able to pin him to the outside. Just watch him widen this release here from the receiver who's lined up here initially just outside the numbers to basically being right along the sideline. There's just no space for that quarterback to make that throw. Porter's able to eliminate that completely. Again, get head around, eyes on the football. That'll eliminate really any risk of pass interference, because usually if your head's around, they're not going to call that. You're just kind of fighting for position and jockeying at that point. But just a really good job here to mirror this release, head around, and this one, it's incomplete all the way. Maybe the best example of Porter taking these types of routes and throws away came in week 9 against Tennessee. One of the first times he was really, truly shadowing a top opposing wide receiver, drawing DeAndre Hopkins in the second half of this Pittsburgh Steelers win. And this one might even be from the first half, but watching him top of the screen here, and again, widen that release, ride the receiver, get his head around, and really eliminate any sort of throwing window the quarterback might have. And so you see here on the snap that Hopkins is basically on the numbers, but you're going to watch Porter get hands and just be able to, within that 5-yard, safe zone where you can press and really get hands on these guys, widen that release so far to the sideline where he's a yard and a half from the sideline here, and then pins him even more to where he's directly on the sideline. And again, there was just no window to make that play. Head around, get eyes on the football, using a size to box out and be in front. And again, this is against D-Hop, a top wide receiver who might win a little bit more on kind of just physical jump ball tools at this stage, but Porter can certainly match that, and there's just no chance on this throw. That's the consistent theme on these type of vertical throws. I mean, the results are identical almost every time. I'll speed things up a bit because you guys get the idea, but I want to show that consistent theme. When I'm looking at a player's entire season, I don't like looking at just one or two plays. I want to show you how it's really evident and occurring throughout an entire year. A little bit different here, more of a goal line, red zone situation, top of the screen against Amari Cooper. Again, good patience overall. Ride the receiver to the outside, really expand his stem, pin him to the sideline, eyes to the quarterback here. A little bit earlier, doesn't have to really flip his hips because there isn't as much vertical space to worry about here, and make this a really tough play on Cooper, who's, of course, a fantastic wide receiver, has made his plays against Porter, which we'll see later. We're going to look at different clips here in just a little bit. And again, just a top receiver overall who really found traction late in the year. But point aside, just watching Porter on that rep, we'll take a look at it from one of the end zone views as well. Big situation here, goal line type stuff, look like third down as well. Again, Porter just money on third or fourth down. No, they didn't have Deshaun Watson. You got DTR at quarterback, but I don't really care about that. I just care about Porter being able to contest this one, no matter who the quarterback is, no matter what the throw looks like. And again, this one just has no chance of being completed. Finally, from these types of plays and throws, again, we're going to look at some top-tier receivers he's going against. We've seen D-Hop, Amari Cooper, and how about DK Metcalf in Week 17 against Seattle late in the game? Again, bottom of the screen here, trying to close this one out. And this one, maybe a little bit worse than Porter here, initially kind of giving up some space here over the top against DK, off the line, getting his eyes to the quarterback, a little bit more space to defend here. Metcalf getting a step. What I really like here, though, is that Porter, I think maybe kind of felt that a little bit, that he was losing, being in phase and staying hip for hip with Metcalf. And so he gets his head back around to Metcalf to really get more in that side-by-side relationship, and then still have the presence and ability to look back for the football and then finish as well. You really can't see it too well from the aerial view. We're going to look at it from some of the end zone views, but really finishing and playing the pocket and not just being able to disrupt the receiver from having a chance to compete for the football, but finishing at the end here. We're going to look at it from this other view that should show it better than all the others, and hopefully it'll pick up here in frame. But a really nice job here from Porter, and again, getting his head back towards Metcalf and then back towards the football here, and then watch his left hand be able to feel the receiver and play down through to help break this one up. And I'll play it through a couple times. He loses it kind of right here, but still plays through with that left hand, and you see him punch and help be able to disrupt that completion and catch attempt there for Metcalf. I'm going to play this one back and slow it down for you guys. It's really, really impressive overall. Let me just do that, and we're going to run this one through. It'll take a second here in slow-mo, but just watch the finish from Porter, that presence, that feel, just kind of that instinct, because he doesn't play this one maybe quite as cleanly, but that left hand right there to help separate the hands of Metcalf and punch that ball out. We're going to look at it just one more time in this super slow-mo. Corner's got to be able to play the pocket, got to be able to finish at the catch point, and you see Porter do a really nice job right there. That left hand, this black glove's a little hard to see, but right there, just watch him play through the hands of Metcalf and punch that ball out right there. Get that left hand extended through, and this one is incomplete. So another great job again against top tier receivers like DK Metcalf. Switching gears, I know the book and the conventional thought on Porter is, okay, big press man guy. Can he play off? Can he play zone coverage? And I think he can. Not as well right now, obviously, as his man coverage ability, but I think you saw signs that he can be more than just a get your hands on him, ride him up the field type of press man corner. And this is going back to week 2 against Cleveland, so early in his season. We're going to watch him here deep third, be able to transition and then drive, flip his hips, and break on this football and break this pass up. I think it's another third down situation. Yeah, 3rd and 8. So again, recurring theme article is linked in the description below. On 3rd down, Porter was just completely shut down, locked down, best cornerback in football statistically. But watching him here, bail technique, this deep third, so it's cover 3. You got deep third by KZ, deep third by Levi. You got 4 under with Watt. I'm not sure what Watt's doing here. He might kind of be doing his own thing, but still zone coverage. Obviously, they're dropping. I think actually they're dropping out and really only rushing 3 here on this 3rd and 8. But deep third responsibility by Porter, flipping his hips here, driving good angle of the football, and then breaking up this pass along the sideline for wide receiver Elijah Moore. So a nice job here. I think Porter showed some zone traits, some things to work on. We'll talk about, but he was better in zone than I think people want to give him credit for because he's being typecast as this big, long pressman corner. He can be and is shown to be more than that. Another 3rd down, another example here against Cleveland in the rematch later in the year. Porter topped the screen, right quarterback playing off and really true zone technique, flat-footed here and driving on this slant, breaking it up, ball pops up in the air, and it gets intercepted by Chandon Sullivan. So Sullivan gets credited in the box score for the pick, but this is a target here for Porter. I give Porter the interception because he made the play. Sullivan, nice job, but just cleaned it up what Porter started. So again, off coverage here, thought of as this man press, roll up on him type of corner, which certainly Porter is more than capable of being in many cases, but zone eyes here, not getting depth here, just flat-footed, zone turn, eyes on the quarterback, drive on this one, pass a little bit behind. I mean, certainly it was Dorian Thompson-Robinson, a rookie quarterback in there, but Porter still making the play against a great wide receiver in Amari Cooper. And Porter finishing the play, using his length, getting his hand in there, popping the ball up, and then picked off by Sullivan. Probably won't get a great view from the end zone angle. We'll take a look at it, though. Just the same. So a little bit of different flair here. Instead of the press man stuff, we're looking at bail technique. We're seeing some cover 3. We're seeing some more off coverage here from Porter. Still making plays. A little bit later in the season against New England Patriots on that short week, that Thursday game, disappointing result overall. A little bit different example. More kind of not scramble drill, but the play was extended a little bit more than some of the other examples. But Porter playing off here. Zone coverage, eyes on the quarterback, reading the receiver, through the quarterback, and being able to drive on this one on this throw to, I think that's Juju down there, number 7. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on this one. Getting his hand in there, using that length, utilizing his size, and breaking this pass up. And what do you know? Another 3rd down play, 3rd down stop right there by Porter Jr. So nice job there to get in front, to be the aggressor, go for not just the tackle, but go for the football, making that calculated decision, and then, of course, making the play as well. So Pittsburgh here, zone coverage on 3rd and long. We saw Porter make some plays out of zone and not just man, especially more of the zone vertical type stuff. Again, cover 3, deep third. Porter has deep third, 4 under in this case. That's classic cover 3 shell, and then basically becoming man towards the end there as the receivers in his zone, matching that, making the play, making the read, and getting his defense off the field. Moving on here, looking at Porter as a tackler, and there's no question early in the season, Porter was not doing a good job as a tackler. I can even think back to training camp and some of those sort of Oklahoma receiver DB one-on-one tackling circuits. Pittsburgh ran one day in camp. Porter had a really miserable performance overall, was not good early in his rookie season, and he even admitted that and said his dad, of course, Joey Porter Sr., kind of chirped him and got on him for not upholding the Porter standard as a tackler, but that improved throughout the season. Just two quick examples of that. We're going to watch him running back here, out here in the flat, and Porter making a nice open field tackle to wrestle him down again. Part of that unfortunate 3-game losing streak that Pittsburgh was on, but not really relevant here right now. Watching Porter drive. Maybe should have expanded here in the flat a little bit more. Maybe he kind of got a little too much on the hook curl responsibility of the linebacker, Michael Walker, and maybe should have been a little bit more to the flat here. Not 100% sure, but just looking at actually finishing, not allowing Yak here a really good open field stop on the running back. And then, frankly, one of my favorite plays of the entire season by Porter. Big spot here as Pittsburgh needed these wins down the stretch. The second game against the Bengals, up 21-0 here late in the first half. Bengals trying to get something going. Porter had the fourth down breakup a couple plays later, but that play wouldn't have even been possible had Porter not made this tackle on this RPO. A really nice job in the open field. It's they need a yard here, and Pittsburgh's able to wrap up the receiver, not allow any yak at all. I know this ball is a little bit maybe low and behind. The receiver has to stop and turn himself. Doesn't really have momentum forward, but still, it's Porter, who is not a great tackler throughout his rookie year, making that play, not allowing that receiver to fight for that extra yard. Just great effort here by Porter to not just making the tackles fine. You have leverage. You're expected to make that tackle, but to not allow any yak, not allow that receiver to be able to even fall forward for the first down. Porter having the presence, knowing where the marker's at, knowing where he's got to get to, making that stop, ends up in a turnover on downs in which Porter made the play on fourth down to keep this one 21-0 in that eventual blowout win for Pittsburgh. But a nice job here by Porter. Underrated play. No one talks about this one, but you kind of look at his growth as a tackler and that kind of effort and physicality. You see that on display right here. Now we're going to look at an area in which I thought Porter pretty consistently struggled. There were some positive moments and things we can take away even from plays like the one we'll look at here against Jacksonville in week number 8, but any sort of slant in breaking route, Porter certainly had a lot more trouble with. He was a lot more comfortable and fluid and natural playing things up and vertical and out than he was in breaking towards the middle of the field. So top of the screen here, left cornerback against a great wide receiver here in Calvin Ridley, and he's going to be able to use that stem to win off the line against Porter. Now, Porter, to his credit, makes a nice open field tackle. So again, seeing the tackling improving from early in the season throughout the course of his rookie year, but there were a lot of struggles and difficulty he had matching the release and some of these stems by these really crafty receivers who are running these slants off the line. So Ridley first stemming to the outside here initially, like he's going to run outside either the go ball or the comeback, and then breaking across Porter's face. So the initial stem to the outside, we're seeing Porter try to punch here, not able to make contact. Ridley winning inside here very cleanly, good ball, and again, Porter's credit makes that tackle, but you don't want to be in that position too often where you got to make that tackle, because if he slips out of it, you miss a tackle, whatever the case is, you can't get to him in time, he's too explosive, too much burst. That is a potential house call where only your safety can try to make that play 1v1, and that's a recurring theme here, is defending these slants off the line, especially Porter had a lot of trouble with. Now working against Cleveland in the rematch, Porter, bottom of the screen against Cooper, who's a fantastic route runner, but again, you're going to see the same issue of Cooper be able to initially stem to the outside. Porter loses balance here, kind of play on his heels some, and then Cooper crosses his face and wins here on the slant. Again, Porter recovering, I think, pretty well overall, making this tackle, not making a not great situation, potentially far worse, but we're just seeing some of the issue here, being able to punch correctly and be balanced and fluid here. It's a nice play by Cooper, a little physical as well, probably kind of pushing off here. You're going to get that. They're never going to call that really in the NFL. So Porter's going to have to defend those in-breaking routes, the slants especially, these guys that can stem outside here initially, as Cooper does right there to get Porter to begin to open his hips and then cross his face back inside. Porter's a little bit tight here, a little bit off balance, not able to really match that. It's not a terrible job by Porter, but it's going to be a completion to Cooper. And, one missed tackle is all it takes for this one to become a big explosive play. Teams are going to go after him in that way in 2024. Again, same thing here versus Cooper, bottom of the screen on the slant with the outside stem here initially. And Porter just has to really be able to punch to open up his hips in these moments. He's not opening his hips to really be able to fluidly turn with the receiver. You always want to punch the opposite hand in which the receiver stems. So he's going to stem, to the outside here to the right, then Porter can punch with his right hand. But as Cooper comes back inside, Porter's still punching with that right hand, never is able to clear and get open his hips. So he's still so tight here as Cooper's winning to the inside. And if you punch with that left hand in this case, you're able to open your hips as you're punching and making contact and able to run with him a whole lot better. So Porter's late and behind. Again, good recovery, making the tackle. It's a 8-yard slant, whatever it is. But the concern here is that, these are going to become big plays the more and more you allow them. So I think Porter technically has to work on his punch on some of these stems and releases. If it's outside, if it's an outside vertical release, he does a great job here. But being able to defend some of these in-breaking routes, these slants against these crafty receivers like Amari Cooper, has been a really recurring issue for Porter in year number one. Now looking at Porter playing off coverage against the Colts, and he's going against rookie wide receiver Josh Downs, who's actually right here. That's the running back motioning in, but Downs, a small and shifty receiver. Porter really more just guessing here. It's not really the issue. It's not the issue with his punch or anything like that, but playing off, anticipating the slant route, which I understand, but then having to pivot back out, and you see Downs able to make this play pretty easy for a decent gain. So not the end of the world, but just, again, watching him against slants and just trying to anticipate here, maybe over-aggressive in this case. And Casey's the one who has to come down and make the stop. So just kind of the recurring theme. Again, Porter vertical, much better. Underneath, there were some wins, but in many cases, some losses and things to work on and correct. And last example here, going against DK Metcalf, bottom of the screen on this slant. And again, Porter just totally out to lunch here, guessing, not even punching and throwing his hands wrong, but just anticipating a route that does not, happen. And so being a bit more patient and reading the hips of the receiver, things Porter has to work on. And yes, there's some really good receivers he's facing, Amari Cooper, DK Metcalf, but guess what? He's going to be the number one corner for the Steelers team. He's going to shadow the number one opposing wide receiver in many cases this year. In most situations, you're going to face Jamar Chase twice a year. You're going to face A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Terry McLaurin, etc. You're going to face some top-tier dudes consistently, and so you got to be ready for that. So I think just dealing and being able to read the hip of the receiver on these slant, these in-breaking routes are going to be really critical for Porter to make a second-year jump. Want to focus on something maybe a little less critical, but still an issue I saw pop up for Porter in his rookie year, being able to plaster and finish. And just want to focus some details on him being able to finish some of these plays in scramble drills. There were some moments where he did a nice job, and obviously his athleticism and size and length are assets here. But a couple examples. First one against Arizona. A nice job here overall, being able to change directions, finish. I mean, the most, 90% of this is excellent. And then just at the finish at the end, just being too aggressive. He's got great coverage, does not need to be as grabby and physical and pulling this receiver back like he does. And he gets obviously flagged for it. And you're good. You're in good position. You can break this one up. Just use your size and technique and length and bat this one away against a smaller receiver. You're going to win this play. And Porter just a little too aggressive here at the end. It's a really good job overall. But want to see him do a better job to finish and plaster and not, have some of these penalties. Penalties were an issue last year. I think some of them, it's maybe a little overstated. There were a couple of dumb offsides and neutral zone infractions, which have to be cleaned up. But there were probably a couple fewer DPIs than you think. And as a bigger, longer corner, he's always going to walk that line between trying to be a little aggressive. That's going to naturally lead to a couple of flags. I'll take that calculation. He'll win more than he loses overall. But in this situation, you're in good position. Done a great job defending this route overall. Just finish the play, man, and just use your size and your traits and not resort to those kind of tactics, and he gets burned for it. Another example of that against Week 17, going back to the Seahawks game, and not an issue of him being too grabby, but just losing sight of his man. Here he is, man coverage on DK Metcalf, gets his eyes turned around, peeled on the quarterback. Metcalf is able to extend his route as his play extends out. TJ Watt applying the pressure. Push off, but he runs vertically here, and it becomes a big completion. Porter wants to call. Again, most cases they're not going to call it, and you don't have eyes on your receiver if you're looking like this. You're going to lose your man here. And if you feel him push off, you see for a second here, he pushes, and Porter is still not responding. So had he pushed off and Porter immediately kind of felt, okay, he's trying to leave me, I'll turn and run, I probably wouldn't have dinged him too much for it and just said, they'll push, whatever. It happens sometimes, but he's really late here responding, and finding the football, has no chance to make this play, push off or no push off. And so in these situations when you're plastering, you need to get eyes, you need to have a better feel for the receiver. In these extended situations, loses his man here, and it results in a big gain for Seattle. Last example here, we'll go to the wild card loss to Buffalo, and this one just kind of annoyed me because this is just an effort thing. I don't think Porter's a low effort kind of guy, but it's a teaching moment about finishing the entire play, especially in this world of mobile quarterbacks. You're in the AFC North with guys that can extend the play, Watson, Jackson, even Burrow, and of course when you're playing Buffalo, Josh Allen's king at being able to keep the play going. And so we're watching Porter here against Diggs, good coverage overall. And then at the end, we're seeing Diggs really run hard back to the football, find some grass. Porter a little bit late here, kind of pulls up, feels like the play is over. I'm going to just kind of jog. The ball's probably out. Allen's taking off. I'm not going to, the ball's not going to come to me, but we're seeing Diggs be able to charge hard here, right there. And Porter a little bit late, just not high effort. Good close and finish and makes a tackle. Gets ran over here by the lineman at the end, which was not cool, but want to see Porter be able to finish that. Just kind of, laxed off at the top there. Diggs kept running hard, came back to the football, and made the play because of it, and Porter took a nasty shot we'll take a look at. I don't think the end zone view is going to demonstrate this too well, but I'll take a look. Haven't seen it in a little bit, and I don't think we see Porter in the clip here. But you see the catch by Diggs, and then the lineman coming over and nailing Porter, and that's unfortunate. But more to the point, watching Porter in this route right here. Good coverage, slows down, and Diggs comes back, and he earns the reception. I will say why I think Porter is a better zone corner than some typecast him for. There were some issues, and I think being able to make that transition kind of not even as much out of his pedal. He wasn't out of his pedal too much and off last year. It was more this bail technique where you're, turning your back to the sideline and getting eyes on the quarterback, but just making that transition out. A little bit late here, I think, trying to drive hard on this one. Want to see him be a little more physical downhill at the catch point against that big body receiver. I know receivers are going to catch some. It's the NFL. It's 2023 in this case. It's modern football, but just want to see him be a bit better. I thought he was a little bit stiff in that transition. We saw a couple of good clips, but a little bit inconsistent there in terms of being able to really explode out and drive downhill out of this, deep third bail technique. And so I want to see Porter work on that transition some. It's good eyes overall, but not right there. Could have been a little bit tighter downhill and then being a bit more physical at the catch point. We'll try to see it from the other end zone view. Just want to see him be a little more physical with his hands there, maybe with that left hand. It's a tough play, I know, but want to see a little more physicality there. He's got the size and the ability to do so, to try to disrupt this one or push that receiver out or knock him out or something. Just a little lacking on this rep. All right, now I'm done with kind of the themes and the overall topics and good and bad I wanted to look at with Porter. Now I'm just going to look at kind of some random plays I wanted to highlight that maybe didn't fit perfectly into one of those buckets I talked about earlier, but I still wanted to show to you guys. So against Arizona, here on this mesh concept, we're going to see Porter. Nice job here, being able to break this one up, get his hand in there. What I really like here, we had this discussion mid-season, was that even you have to think about things as kind of a veteran guy. What gloves are you going to wear? If you're going to be a physical corner that's going to kind of push the boundary on what may or may not get called, you don't want to wear, say, black gloves against a team wearing white jerseys. It's going to be just more noticeable for the ref to pick those things up. And so we saw Porter make a switch here, looking at Patrick Peterson, for example, wearing white gloves. Porter wearing white gloves here, and that's important because on this match, you're going to see this little tug right here on that wide receiver, right there, just that little tug, kind of pull him, slow him up, be his parachute a little bit here, and then get that left hand across, and break that one up. And so it's a nice job there by Porter, and I think it certainly helps he's wearing gloves that match the jersey of the opponent. Those are little tricks of the trade overall. I know Minka's not, but I'm not questioning Minka here as a corner that's going to play. You got Casey wearing white gloves. You got Peterson wearing white gloves, and you have Porter wearing white gloves. But there was a game earlier in the season. I forget which one it was. I'm sure someone will remind me in the comments where he was wearing dark colored gloves against a light colored jersey or vice versa and picked up some penalties because of it. But right here, a little bit of tug, a little tug on the back of the jersey there, then get his hand across and break this one up. But that's smart. You got to kind of match and color coordinate to be a physical corner in the NFL. Last clip to show you guys against Seattle, and we're going back to this game. We've seen some good clips, some bad clips from Porter in this one. I thought Porter really finished. The breakup against Metcalf, I believe, came late in the game. There were some more difficult reps earlier on. I think even run defense might have been an issue in this one. We saw him give up that slant to DK early in this one, late in the game. I thought Porter showed a lot of mental toughness in this contest. Wasn't his best game overall, tough start. But if you want to be an NFL corner, you got to have a short-term memory. You better be able to put the bad plays behind you, because when you're the guy, when you're the alpha, the number one, when you're facing the top guys, as Porter did for much of the second half of last year, as he will week in and week out in 2024, you're going to give up some plays. You're going to have some bad reps, some bad games, some bad moments overall. Can you bounce back, though, in the situation? 30-20 game. Porter over Metcalf. Physical at the goal line. Pittsburgh looking for that stop here. Pretty grabby, but within that 5-yard zone. And then be competitive, be big, be physical against Metcalf on the goal line, getting his hand in, breaking this one up. I thought Porter, with this and the goal line fade that happened right around this time as well, Porter finished this game on a really high note. And what was more important to me than the actual technique or the size or the play itself was the mental toughness to hang in there, treat each new rep, like it's a brand new one, etch-a-sketch the old ones away when you have those tough situations, those tough moments, and make this play on Metcalf against a really big, physical, power forward-looking dude, and help Pittsburgh secure victory as they made their big playoff push to turn their season around, going from 7-7 to 10-7 and a wild card berth. So that was really important to me to watch Porter, not just physically, but mentally in this game. So those are my thoughts on Joey Porter Jr. Fantastic erasing the vertical go ball, especially those outside releases. You could not complete any of those throws. Great on money downs, on third down. Again, linked in the description about that study that I went through. A better zone guy than people give him credit for. I thought there were some traits, and he flashed there last year. Room for improvement, but there's something there. Tackling improved. Has to work on his punch, his technique against those in-breaking routes, slants in particular, when receivers want to be able to foot fire and, fake that stem to the outside off the line initially and then cross your face and come back inside. Really has to work on his hands, his punch. I want to see that. His belt technique transition in cover 3. I want to see him be a little bit stronger out of that. We saw some good. We saw some bad. I just want to see a little more consistency, a little more fluidity from him there. I want to see him do a better job in plaster situations, finish, and be smart overall and not be quite as penalized as he was, and just have a better feel for where the receiver is at. And that's basically the list overall. I'll check my list here one last time. Anything else I wanted to talk about? That was basically it. So I'm really impressed by Porter. I'm really encouraged by him. I think he's going to have a big second year. There's going to be some highs and some lows. It's life with playing cornerback in 2024, but he's expected to be the guy. He needs to be the guy. I think he can be the guy for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. No, it's a super long video. I'm long-winded sometimes, but I wanted to really do a deep dive into Porter here in this downtime before Pittsburgh reports a training camp on July 24th, with their first practice on July 25th. So, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the site, SteelersDepot.com. Really appreciate that. Thank you again, and we'll talk to you soon.